Okay, Ashley, we have,
Sorry, I don't have my agenda up. No, it's okay. Let's call to order.
there as well.
Thank you. We'll start with a roll call.
Dr. Ramsey, present. Senator Oliveira, present.
Grady present.
Emily Cunningham, present.
Sure.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Yes, there is. Great. Ms. Gudino, if you want to just step up to the front.
I've been keeping note, I just wanted to, kind of a friendly reminder, the private, the situation, really little closer to the holidays, Christmas holidays, and this is the second time. My son was sick in the building and he needed help and he didn't get the help that he needed. He was at the bathroom for 10 minutes. And we found out he had sleep apnea.
Oh,
So just kind of quick, a random reminder. I know this is a new year. The kids said I'm supposed to have cell phones. In the campus, I understand. I don't know if it's just for us to kind of, what can we do to help each other with the situation after the war. And August, beginning of August, it was outside of campus where staff didn't know where my son was. I ended up, it was out of town, and I was there. It was kind of different time in the years. I just wanna to come and communicate with you guys.
so I just want to make sure I summarize that part really well. So your son was sick and didn't get the help that he needed. He ended up with food poisoning. He was gone 10 minutes. And just a reminder that kids don't have cell phones anymore. So the adults have to be more aware of what's going on so they can help when needed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Question. On the other event, your child was on campus,
Off
off
campus,
campus,
with the school event.
at a school event, and then they didn't.
I was there. And I knew because I have good communication with my son, I knew he was not gonna be there. But the staff was like, "Where's your son?" What? I was like, my son is at school, not at campus, but it was kind of, I can't believe that that there was teachers who took students out of campus and not knowing
Whether he was there or not.
how many kids you're taking out of the campus you have them there. I know this high school, but just be aware of what you have.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to, so they went outside campus and they called you and they didn't know what you're.
No, I was there. I was there supporting this.
Okay.
I was gonna for this school.
Who didn't know where your son was?
It's one of the teachers.
So one of the teachers that was on the field trip, on the event with him, saw her and said, "Hey, where's your son?" And he was actually at school instead of on the trip. Right.
He was in the school instead of in the trip. Okay.
Mhm. But what she's saying is, I think, let me help out a little bit. Like the teacher should have known that her son wasn't with them, that he was back at school, but the teacher asked her where the son was. So I've got it noted. Yeah.
I was trying to make it clear where you were.
Mm-hmm.
And how old is your son?
He's at the high school. At the high school.
Mhm.
So he wasn't going on the trip. He wasn't going on the event. Was he?
No.
No.
He's been at school, Rapoport for so many years, so he knows the rules. He don't supposed to be going to that event because he was not doing well with this
Class.
grade.
Okay.
Oh,
He's
okay.
like, I'm gonna stay here, mom. I'm like, fine. I'm already gonna go and support this school.
Yep.
And then the teacher was like, well, where'd you send? I was like, okay.
He's at school. Yep.
So it's just a little bit, I'm just here to communicate. I know
Got it.
it's a different year with no phones too, but safety, and then December came and we had another incident with health water.
Because he was sick.
I came here and picked him up and I called the ambulance because I thought he couldn't even walk. And he was in the restroom almost passing out.
Yeah, right, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Gudino. We're at time for public comment, but I really appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming by. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And then we'll move to celebrations and recognitions.
Just 1 second. Set that up.
Thank you.
I should have already had that up there. Okay, we have several celebrations and recognitions that I will pull up. Eventually. It's moving really slow. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have middle school. They did the UIL Academic Awards. Do you want me to run through it or do you want to run through it?
So we had our middle school UIL academic competition in December. Some of the events took place on Rapoport's site, some of the like paper-based events, and then the actual competition performance-based events, they actually go in those. This year was in Ospeyville, it was in our district for UIL academics. We had a really tremendous not only participation and process this year, but we had 23 students who brought home awards from UIL Academics at our middle school. This is one of those initiatives that really important to us, but has kind of dwindled in the last several years and has really come back to life this present year. Mr. Jonathan Bruce, who's our behavior coach at our middle school campus, is a staff lead for that at the middle school and did a lot of work with several of our coaches. Their names are listed here as well. Jonathan, Christina Cruz, Cameron Jorgensen, Kylie McKenzie, and Sarah Rodriguez all took time outside of the school day to meet with students and coach students and a number of events. Students met weekly for months leading up to this and went to compete. We were really proud of the performance. This is a photo of many of the students who medaled. You can see some with many medals and ribbons for their participation in lots of different things from spelling, dictionary skills, storytelling. There's all kinds of different events that they competed in. It was great preparation, especially for some of our most accelerated learners who need those extra challenges. We're really proud to be able to do things for those students and give them a chance to compete at this level. Middle school doesn't go beyond district competition, similar to UIL athletics. So this was their competition for the year. But we're really proud of all the things they did. This was 7th to 8th.
Woohoo, 23 awards.
Yeah. Moving on to high school, we have our star student of the year, Lillian Carney, who's a senior this year, Rapoport Academy. She was featured in a Wakeland every year. Schools in the area provide one of our best and brightest students as the star student. And so we're really, really proud of Lillian. You can pick up the Waco just about anywhere in town. They have copies grocery store and at the hair salon and all kinds of places. So but she's on pages 98 and 99. We're really proud of Lillian and her representing.
So we recently had 2 Charter Champ visits and awards. So Representative Curry was here not too long ago. And so this time he actually came back. Last time he was here, he went through the Flo campus and read a little book, and then we came to the secondary campus. And he said, I want to come back and I want to see your MacArthur campus because you've talked about that and I haven't seen your whole district. And so I want to come back. And so we had him back and we partnered in with the Texas Public Charter School Association, who wanted to recognize both representatives' service to public schools, but specifically Texas Public Charter Schools. And so we gave him his award right there in the middle of the kiddos at lunchtime, and then walked him through the campus. And then on the right-hand side, Representative Moore came here to the high school. She's been and walked through before, actually when she had just barely gotten elected. She came and sat down with us for a long conversation. And so this was a return visit from her. And so we were able to give her an update. Matter of fact, I'm going to share with you guys here in a little bit. We were able to give her an update on the district and the challenge that we continue to face and kind of what it looks like to be a charter school in today's educational and societal times, which was, it's a lot that we're navigating. And so both of them were provided with artwork drawn by our students and then a plaque from the Texas Public Charter Schools Association. And this is special observances and recognitions. You guys know this is how we recognize these each month. So Holocaust Remembrance Week is the last week of January. January 6th is Sam Rayburn Day, in member of that great Texas and American statesman, Sam Rayburn. And so this is our official recognition for both of those required. Thanks. We have upcoming, do we miss something?
There's one in.
Did I miss one? Oh, okay. So Black History Month's coming up Thursday, February 5th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. in the multipurpose building. If you have not been to one of our celebrations, you have absolutely got to go. They are really cool. Music, poetry, dancing, spoken word, food vendor, on site for people to buy food if they want to, but also a fashion show. So it's going to be really cool this year. I've heard lots of really great things about it so far. So in the multipurpose center right here on campus. That's what I have. Did I miss one?
There was one in there about babies. We've had 3
Oh, I didn't see it.
Raven
Yeah.
babies born recently. One in elementary, 2 in secondary. We've got another one due in February at elementary. So anyway, some sweet little
Babies, babies, and babies. Unless you want one, don't drink the water, right? Yeah, don't drink the water, but three fun little babies.
No.
I'm good.
That's not good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hidden. There it is.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, there it is.
Well, there they are. There's the babies. Dun, ta-da. Anyway, they're so cute. I have to say, one of them is a true Rapoport baby. They met here. The parents met here. They did. Yeah, so they met here. Yay, teaching at Rapoport.
Yeah.
Not only can we grow your profession, we can grow your family. Right? Not many places can boast that, but we can.
Okay, so consent agenda items are next. Those items are available on the drive. Is there any that you need to pull out or discuss or any questions, you guys?
The one thing I'll just note, just in case it was confusing, Brownlee wrote the narratives for the 2 expenditure requests, and those are for next year's budget. So with E-rate, we actually have to go through all the process now. So it's next year's budget within his budget expectations, within what we expect for budget. He's adjusting and moving to allow those for next year. So it's not this year's funds.
Same deal with test down, test on the same thing.
Yeah, both of those items are.
Can you explain the 4-H and is that, I just don't recall seeing that before.
Sure. Yep. I may be able to explain it just outright. If we need to discuss it, we can pull it off. But essentially, 4-H does all sorts of stuff for schools. They're going to work with us on healthy eating. There's a grant that we're working with through SHAC, and then on gardening stuff. And so in order for them to get credit with some of their grants and funding that they have, then they become essentially an adjunct with us. It costs us no money. It's just saying that, yes, we understand they're providing curriculum, they're going to do instruction, they're going to partner with us. It also lets us, we don't have any students using it, but if we had a student that wanted to use, say, horseback riding as an alternate PE, then they could do it through the 4-H program and we could give them credit for that.
Any other questions for the consent agenda? Or a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. We'll move on to item 3.1, report from parent representative. Do you have anything, Sylvia?
I do have something I'd like to share. A parent reached out to me about snacks for our elementary students and said there are certain guidelines that have to be adhered to, but they felt like the littles could use a snack. And so if parents are donating, that is something that maybe fits within the guideline. And so they were wondering if that was okay for parents to be able to donate to the school for snacks for kids in the afternoon. They said they feel like after school kids get it, but not the littles in campus, during the afternoon.
So I love that. So the SHAC committee actually took up that conversation specifically, which is a great spot for it. I think that's the school health advisory committee, right? And so I know right now that there's a subgroup that's going to meet after that one to see what that looks like, what the constraints are, how we might be able to do that. Now, I will tell you, both elementary campuses, for instance, they have a snack bucket.
Yeah.
So if a kid is like needing it, then the teachers have access where they can go and do something like that. But that there's a smaller group within the SHAC committee that's going to pull out and talk about what we might be able to do to help accommodate some of those things. So yes, and it's at SHAC. How about that?
Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. Faculty rep, you have anything?
I actually got quite a few little snippets here and there from several people. I think that there's a few that are just questions that I have here. But then the rest of them, I think I'm gonna facilitate some conversations and kind of lead them to maybe the appropriate person to ask instead of wasting all the questions here, because there's quite a few. But one of them is, when will the superintendent evaluation be completed?
So I'm going to send those out to you. I probably should have done it before today, but this week you'll get the draft. And I think that we actually complete it in April.
And then,
So just for reference, the timeline usually is it's distributed in January.
Okay.
And then board members complete it in February and March. That gives them time to ask around, talk to people, whatever they need to do to complete it thoroughly. And then in April, there's a closed session. So the superintendent evaluation is held in closed session. And then that's when it's provided to the superintendent, feedback to the superintendent.
and then the other one is about an employee feedback survey. It was mentioned a while back that surveys weren't being completed, or some people were not being honest because of their fear that they weren't being anonymous. So what solutions do we have to modify the surveys or help employees feel their input is heard without worry?
So I would say we did the mid-year surveys that went to students and faculty and staff. And so we'll analyze those, send out the results back. It's really cumbersome to try to identify individual people because you don't put email responses on there. And so it would take a lot of work to try to identify people, which is not anything we've ever done. And so really from the surveys, we do ask some demographic information on there so that we can say, is this a new teacher problem, or is this an experienced teacher problem? Or is this a secondary concern, or is this an elementary concern? And that's kind of, we use it to think about the data. I don't know, we've, kind of talked about how anonymous does anonymous get? I mean, sometimes you can figure it out, but that's not really what we're after. I mean, it's really more, hey, is this a problem that we need to solve at secondary? Is this a problem we need to solve at elementary? Hey, is this a problem that just new teachers are experiencing, or is this a problem that experienced teachers kind of experiencing? I will just say, I mean, I want to make it as anonymous as possible, as easy for people to answer as possible. But also, if it's one person that has a big problem, we probably need to sit down and talk about it too. And so I don't want this to be a place where people are worried about retaliation or retribution. Like, there's plenty of people you can talk to. You can come to a board member, you can do all sorts of things. Or you can sit down with me and talk about it. But I think, a survey that doesn't ask for email and doesn't ask for really specific questions, it just helps us categorize like what type of response it is. It would take a lot to sort through and find answers because we did kind of big chunks. Like, that's why we broadened up the years of service even a little bit to try to kind of help with some of that. We can always look at making it more anonymous. Then you get to data that's hard to digest and hard to think about it. So I don't know that I have a really great response for that, other than we don't dig through and try to find individual people. It's really more of, is this an elementary thing or a middle school thing or a high school thing? Is this a new teacher thing or an experienced teacher thing? Or the same way with our families, like, is it an elementary family or is it a secondary family? It's really just used for kind of lump disaggregation.
I know I've never felt like, I mean.
Yeah.
Answer it honestly and.
Yeah.
On the faculty rep also, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I guess they have to identify themselves to you, but I don't know, how can we convey that to staff that that's why this position exists, that it's this safe place to make sure your comments are heard.
Mhm.
I think that was. Yeah, I think that was it for. The whole.
Well, that's great that people are seeking you out.
Yeah.
Thank you for being available and intentional about that. Okay, let's see, Finance Committee. We'll move on
Yes,
to those reports.
yes. So in our meeting, we went over endowment performance and review from as requested by the bank that I'm doing the financing for the gym. They asked us to review the investment policy statement, which hadn't truly been reviewed in several years. So we had the investment advisor and his team with us to go through the investments and the methodology of how we got to the current investment policy statement. So from there, they agreed that the way we are currently invested is not conservative, but it is not aggressive. So in terms of being able to see some returns from it without being on the conservative end. So we agreed that once a year we could go back through and review the investment policy and make any changes or recommendations to the investments as needed. So that was the major thing of the meeting. I'm going to some edits to the investment policy statement. I didn't get a chance to do that for this meeting. We asked a lot of questions in terms of the current investments, how they are, there wasn't really anything that he recommended or to change in terms of underperforming, not doing, those types of things. So felt really comfortable with the current investments. And then we discussed the amount for scholarships to do that again for this year. So we talked through again the methodology of about how much we could do and in terms of not affecting the portfolio value. Those were the main things that. Anything else on this?
I just want to add,
Oh.
one of the other things I thought was kind of cool that you guys talked about. If there is, like if the student need is met and there is still scholarship money available, that the board might consider rolling that to staff scholarship
Oh, yes.
as well. So meet student need first, but if you have the capacity, possibly evaluating at that time and maybe being able to open it up
Yes.
to some staff scholarships as well, so that that money is used to forward education for all Rapoport. Again, students first. Yeah.
Because
Yes,
it's performed really well in the last couple of years, like 18% return this year or something. So we want to be good stewards of that money and actually spend it, or the decided allotment.
Yeah.
That doesn't affect the.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Grady. Thanks for taking a look at that policy. Okay, we'll move on to the Facilities Committee.
Facilities Committee last met on December the 3rd, so we will have a meeting later this month. The only thing we were kind of anticipating is setting a date for our plan.
That's great.
Heard new date yet, so
Nope.
we're still open.
So the pots are in. And we're much less expensive than we initially
Oh, that's
anticipated.
great.
So that was really exciting.
It's okay.
District improvement.
We met last week, look at some of the cumulative data from recent benchmarks. Sorry, some of the data from recent benchmarks. And that data is intended to be cumulative instead of being a snapshot of the most recent period of time. It's the whole year, which is the start. So it makes sense to kind of make that switch. So trying to compare some of those numbers to past years was a little bit probably not as useful, but did see a lot of good progress in most areas. And then, any areas where there was, I think there's like a grade level in math, and there's a challenge. So we're using more instructional coaching and make sure that they're getting the support they need, identifying that early so that they'll perform well in the spring. Looked at discipline data and kind of how I think I'm reading my handwriting.
Yes.
Ruth's done some really good job. Some really good work at the middle school, particularly with restorative practices that showing some change in behavior and reduction in disciplinary issues. While we're still seeing maybe some disparities that are common in all schools, we're hopefully aware of those things and continuing to use those practices that have shown results to reduce that. And then just kind of talk a little bit about some of the stuff that y'all are going to review, the annual report, some of the data that is tied to state and federal accountability. And we looked at the state of the district thing, which I know we're also here too. So just kind of review coming questions.
Thank you for digging into that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll shift to the superintendent report.
Okay, so I have a couple. One of them, unfortunately, is on there twice. It was number 3, but then it's also a later agenda item as well. So I'll just do that one. So financial audit progress. We are still working on the tail end of the audit. We got all the rest of the stuff submitted to them that they needed. They said they would have 1 or 2 other questions, but they're really on the tail end of that. We are still working through the asset conversation I think I had mentioned to you guys. So the timing of moving the gym from construction in progress to fixed asset was really a big point of contention and discussion. And so we've gone through data and evidence to be able to identify when the use of the asset really began, which was our first home game in the facility. Recognizing that their recommendation or their directive is going to be to place it in service on 8/31. Their mindset is that it should be placed in service during that fiscal year when it became. So we can't, normally we would do it the first day of the next month, but that puts it in a new fiscal year. And so right now they're still looking at what the impact would that be and whether it's considered material or significant, or whether it's just the impact of 6 days of depreciation or really 1 day of depreciation. And so they're still a little bit in limbo there. But they're working through all of the other pieces. I haven't been called out with any other things that I would anticipate coming up. So they're, like I said, they're working through the last tail end. We've been able to get them all the things that they needed. And that they
So
had
the
questions about.
auditor is in agreement with the August, September, that.
Yeah,
It's no longer May.
It's no longer May.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no longer May. The justification for that is we still had all the owner supplied items that were being done in May. So even though we got our certificate of occupancy, it wasn't occupiable in May. So we were able to submit documentation and evidence for when the bleachers went in and when the floor went in and all of that. And it wasn't really functional. Like the date when we could go in and use it was in August. And so by our regular practices, it would have been the first day of the next month that it would have been brought into action. But by their standards, that would roll it to a new fiscal year, which wouldn't be accurate. It would be in that fiscal year when it should be accounted for. And so there's still a little bit of conversation that we're having about whether it's material, if something was already in the asset category and you move it from construction in progress to fixed asset, it's still in the asset category. So the question is like, is that material, even though it's still in the same category? Well, might be, might not be. And then the other one is really, what is the financial impact? And the financial impact is depreciation. And so depreciation is from the day you put it in service. So if we put it in service August 31, you're really talking about 1 day of depreciation. So there's still discussion. The auditors are still reviewing theirs, talking to their partners about what that looks like. But other than that, we're
Is
moving.
our fiscal year in 8/31?
Mhm. Yeah.
We moved it from July a long time ago.
No, it's always been 8/31, but Katrina wanted to move it to July. Because we have that weird 1 month where we've started school, but it's in the old fiscal year. And so her goal was to shift us to a July so that it ended when the summer ended. And then we started school in a new fiscal year, which would be great and it would be wonderful, but that's not something I'm going to attempt right now.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine. I couldn't remember. I knew there was talk about it, but I couldn't
Yeah.
remember what.
That was ultimately her goal was over the next 2 years because you have to run
Oh.
2 fiscal years simultaneously and you have to do 2 audits.
Oh,
Because you have to audit the old and audit the new, and then you have to do the overlap. And so it was going to be a big process
yeah. No.
moving
Oh,
forward.
okay.
But it would be great to be able to move to a July 31, but that's not where we are. We're August 31. Yep. So that's the audit progress. I would fully expect for you guys to have the auditor's presentation in February, because it'll be due to TEA right after that. And the auditors feel like they'll be on task to be able to handle that.
So you need to be filed?
By the end of February. It used to be by January. But TEA pushed it forward, pushed it back a month. And so now we have to have it done in February.
Okay.
So then the next thing is the YYY onboarding update. Each month, I just try to make sure that you guys get an update of where we are and how we're walking through that. So we've got them on board. We've got them access to all of the accounts that they need. They're working with Melanie on a couple of things. One, like day-to-day things. They meet every week and walk with her through all of the things that need to be paid, processed, documented, taken care of for that week. So each week they do that. Then they're also meeting with her to come up. They use a tool with their other clients that's kind of a year, not a year at a glance, but like a year planning document. And they complete it prior to that fiscal year starting. And so it's a payroll and accounts payable planning document for the entire year. And it's divided out by weeks or by months. And so you can look out and say, okay, in February, I know these expenses are going to happen. And I know this is what we're anticipating for our revenue for that month. And I know this is what my kind of cushion is that I can pay unexpected bills or things like that. So that's one. Two, they're also working with us on updating how we process purchase orders and purchasing cards. And how we just generally run things through our system. So right now, we pre-approved by the board, we put it on an Excel spreadsheet, people track it on their spreadsheet. Then when they do their purchase that's already been approved, after they get the receipts, then they turn them in, then Melanie goes and types it all in the system. And so we're piloting with Karen Davila right now. And then Tyler has volunteered maybe to be a second round of pilot. We don't want to start it during the school year, but we're moving to where, like right on the campuses, they'll put all the information in, send it in, then it gets approved. Then it comes back to them approved. Then they purchase it. Then they attach the receipt back into Skyward and it runs it in the system. So the big thing for that is right now, what's in Skyward, like if I were to pull it right now, could be anywhere from recently current, if it had just been processed, to a month and a half late, if I'm looking at it. And so it's just been a struggle. I think when it was just one person in one shop and Katrina was able to navigate it all, she knew what was coming in and going out and how to kind of estimate that. And now that we have a little bit more segmented with YYY, and we just need better systems in place for that. And so I think that'll give us a stronger ability to be able to navigate, where are we? What does it look like? What's our expenditure tracking look like? Are we on track? Are we moving over? Are we spending too early? What does that look like? And so between the year at a glance, sort of, and then like a more consistent, quick system that they're helping us implement, I think we're going to get some good movement. It'll be bumpy as we kind of adopt these structures, but I think it's going to help us be kind of more on the ball with exactly where we are at any given moment, because everything will be fresh in the system. The other thing that they're doing is, I think I've used the term like a forensic analysis. So they're looking at where we are mid-year, where we are in payroll, where we are in expenditures, and where we are on revenue, and then doing a projection out through the rest of this year. So we have payroll that they've already gone through and analyzed. Now they're working on revenue. And then they had some questions for me that I've taken to the superintendent cabinet. So we're going to walk through those, give those back to them, and then they'll work on operational expenses. And so as we navigate through that, they will give us kind of a sum total. I'll come up with a plan if there's money that we need to make up. or what that looks like, or if there's expenditures that just don't need to happen, I'll meet with the superintendent cabinet team again, and we will walk through what that looks like. And if there's any changes or adjustments or anything that need to come to the board, then I'll bring it to the board. By the time the finance committee meets next, we should have the initial summary from them, which means by the time the board meets in February, we should have an amended budget for this year. And then based on YYY's recommendations, we should be able to have a pretty solid budget, at least those big codes for next year. So I'm hopeful that that's going to happen. Right now, what I'm worried about is this year. And then we'll worry about what we're planning for next year right now. So this year, we want to make sure that we're on good, solid feet, that we know where we are, that we're going to meet bond covenant, that we're going to meet that, right, that balanced budget as we move forward. And that's really their focus as we're navigating that. So like I said, it's divided into 3 pieces for that analysis. So step 1 is the payroll, because that's people, right? So we manage that. Step 2 is revenue, and that's what we're doing right now. I'll meet with them tomorrow afternoon to run through that. And then the next step is operations. And like I said, we've got the superintendent cabinet team. They're going to go back and check their budgets and work with their people and see exactly what we have left, what's in Skyward. Because we've done a lot of savings in places already on budgets. And so we knew we were upside down from the summer. And so we just want to make sure that we rectify all of that and move through it at a kind of as quickly as possible, but also a steady, slow pace as we navigate that. So I'm really excited about the work they've done. I think they're going to help us build some financial systems in place that are going to be faster, responsive. I think they're going to be easier to project out as we navigate through those. And I think they're going to be more sustainable because there'll be a team of people involved in it. So anyway, so I'm really excited about the work that they're doing, and I'll keep you guys updated each month as we kind of come along the way. Again, by the time the audit committee meets, we should have kind of their numbers for this year. And I'll have a plan of adjustment, and then we'll bring that to the board when we come in February. Like I said, if all that goes well, when I come to the board, we might in February be able to have a revenue expense salary budget for next year. We might not. I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to make sure it's right before I bring it here. So
On that with the covenant, the bank covenant,
Yep.
how much closer are we in the bank, cash on hand?
So the last time we ran it, we were at 44 days cash on hand. So that's part of what YYY is looking at, is how quickly can we meet bond covenant.
Yeah.
We feel confident. There's probably going to have to be some additional cost savings that we put in place for the remainder of the school year. But I feel pretty confident by the end of the year, we'll be able to meet that. I don't know that we'll be able to meet the debt service covenant. I feel pretty confident we'll be able to meet it at the end of the year. We're going to push really hard to see if we can meet that. Now, YYY's, they would like to push back with the bank because they said 60 days is just crazy. 45 is pretty standard, which if it's 45, we're almost there. But if it's 60 days, we still have a little ways to go. So
What's the 60 days? Is that?
that was in the bond covenant from the bank.
Okay.
Which we typically ran 90 to 120 days on any given year. And again, we knew we were going to be spending some of that money, right, to do those owner supplied items. But so we knew that. I think everything kind of hit at once with TIA and all of that, and the summer work and the owner supplied items, it all kind of hit in the same 3-month period. And that's really what kind of pulled our cash on hand way down.
Sure.
So I will just say when you have a budget as tight as ours, it doesn't leave much room to put money back in savings. Oh, I don't know why it's done. It doesn't leave much money back in savings. Matter of fact, for the cabinet, I read analysis, and if we're really about 100,000 to the good, that's only about $7,000 a month max that we would be able to potentially put back in on any given month. 100,000 divided by 12, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know why computer's off. So we're slowly trickling cash on hand. I think part of that will help. I think part of that will help as we kind of pull in costs and see what that looks like. I think one of the reasons our cash on hand is a little bit low is because our costs are high comparative right now. And it's a running calculation, so it recalculates the cost of operations per day as you plug in other costs for that one. And so I think as we move forward and balance out costs, it'll naturally, it doesn't increase the cash, but it increases the days cash on hand because that calculation is more balanced, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things that YYY is also, that's like the next step of things, is being able to give a response back to the bank. Because once the audit is complete, the audit then goes to the bank. Then the bank officially is notified that we busted the bond covenant. Then the bank gives us paperwork and we say, yeah, this is how quickly we can fix it. And then we're able to move forward. So, any other questions about YYY? There's lots of moving pieces. I will just say, we had upside downness to fix. And I think I will just say our superintendent cabinet is really going to work really hard and they're going to be really dedicated to that. One of the things that I just kind of want to own while I'm sitting here in front of you guys is our systems. I'm the superintendent. I'm ultimately responsible for that. Our systems, the way that we've had it. I mean, it's just people trying to do the best that they can at their job. And I wasn't able to kind of pull accurate info, not because somebody didn't do their job, but because our systems that I control weren't set up to really be able to give quick and accurate information. I think we got to where we were because we were just plugging and going, and we've always had more revenue until we didn't. And I think at that point, that's what really caught me right at the end. And so I just, I was talking to the cabinet today about it, and I understand that my role, my responsibility as superintendent is to be on top of those things at all times, no matter what. And so that's one of the things that we're navigating as we're stepping forward is how do I make sure that there's systems in place so that if I do get hit by a bus tomorrow, that there are plenty of people that can stop and that can look, that can see exactly where we are, where our expenses are, how we're navigating the budget, what that looks like. It's not tracked in some third Excel sheet somewhere, right? It's all in Skyward. And so I'm really confident that YYY is going to be able to help us set up some systems that will be truly sustainable beyond any one person or two people. I mean, Tyler and Jennifer, if they wanted to click in and look, they could click in and look right then. Once we're updated, they could look in right there and they could see what their budget is, what they've spent so far, what's been encumbered, what's left. And right now, the way things are right now, they couldn't do that. They would have to look in 2 or 3 different places to see that. And so I'm excited about what they're going to be able to do walking us through that. And I just, like I said, I just kind of want to take ownership of where we are. I recognize my role and my responsibility in that, but I also know that we can step through this pretty cleanly this year. And I think we can navigate out of that. Now, what it looks like next year and the year after and the year after when we have flat revenue and the board wants to have money to be able to do raises or things like that. The reality is at a 73% people budget, 73% of our budget is people, right? And so if we're not getting new money from the state, you can only adjust utilities so much. We have to just look at what sustainable structures look like. And I'm not saying anything right now necessarily one way or the other. That's just real talk moving through as we navigate. As we do a better job of keeping teachers, there's more step raises. As we do a better job of recruiting more experienced teachers, they receive more money. I don't want to not do that. But those are things that we just have to be able to budget and allocate for. And if we run a flat budget, there's no space for that. There's no space for raises. There's no space for that. And so that'll be one of the things that I'll kind of lay out before you guys as we walk through budgeting season is, what does it look like to be proactive when we're not going to always be able to count on added revenue on the other side of it. So any other questions? The next thing on there is I want to walk you through just briefly. So I've made sure that you guys have copies of this. You are welcome to use this presentation. I would love for you to use this presentation to talk to anybody that you want to. If you have people you want us to come talk to, I'll come talk. Tyler and Jennifer will come talk, right? We would love to go talk to people or anybody that you want to go through this. I'm going to flip through it pretty quick because a lot of it's information I'm going to stop on a couple of slides as we walk through. So this is the update that we gave to both representatives as they came through on our campus. So student demographics, right now we have 913 students. You can see the demographic breakdown up there. One of the things I called out to them was the number of students that need something extra. So if you look on that first section, top left, if you look at the 3 bullets on the kind of right-hand column, 2.7% bilingual ESL, 13% 504, 18% underneath special education. And I will say, Jennifer's probably going to say amen, almost every new student we get falls underneath typically special education. And they have lots of IEPs and supports that are needed, but definitely underneath at least 504 for that. And so gone are the days when you have 17 kids in the classroom and you can just teach to that classroom. Now what we have is 17 kids in a classroom, of which 6 of them have essentially individual needs in that classroom. So it's dramatically changed the way that teachers have to be trained and that we support in the classroom. This is one of the reasons why one of y'all's strategic initiatives is helping to train teachers, right, for kids that have special and different unique needs. So we have 169 employees, 83 of those are teachers, 43% are other people on the campus. We have 17 educational aides, 10 campus leadership, and 16 district staff. So those are the district staff is everybody that doesn't have a specific campus that they report to. For that. We have 3 campuses. You can see them on the right with the breakdown of students. And right now we're looking at about a $13 million operating budget, roughly. So this is that statement you already know about. We've talked about it lots of times, our Envision student experience. So we shared that with the representatives. The new 1-pager, if you look at the bottom, that's the new initiatives added to the existing initiatives. So we've got all of those with really fine little print. I will just tell you that SJ is working on, so it's kind of on the initiative planning, but SJ is taking this, combining it with our demographic and data, and putting it together in an actual strategic plan for you guys, and that will be presented in February. So I'm really excited about what that's going to look like. We expect to distribute it mostly digitally, although there will be print options if people want some of those to hand out. The teacher incentive allotment, we gave them updates on that and what it looks like. If you didn't remember, 13 teachers, $186,000, and we're looking at anywhere between 18 to 27% growth this year in that program. So that's really exciting for our staff. We talked a little bit with them about the triple win. That's the entrepreneurial ecosystem is the trendy phrase for us. So we talked about that. We did drop the grant for the summer grant again. So it's 2 different grants for $50,000, one for summer camps, one for Student Works. But those are also partnered with La Vega, Waco ISD, and Bosqueville. So a new partner this year. So they will all partner. Hopefully we get approved and they will all partner with us at our triple win facility in the summer. Not only for summer camps, but also for work-based learning experiences where students get paid real money for real internships. Then we talked about our pathways, our real world experiences, and the fact that we do 0 cost dual credit. I will tell you, one of the reps, I won't say which one, but one of the reps was blown away that we just take kids to college and we just buy their books for them and they just get to go to classes for free. And we're like, yes, because we need to remove every barrier we can so that those kids know that they can be successful.
Yes.
Thank you. And so the follow-up question was, and we do that within the current budget that we have, which is not nearly enough budget. So please give us more money. We gave them a little summary of our graduating class. Most of you guys were there at graduation. So you saw 47 graduates, 876 college hours, 5 associate's degrees, 29 IBCs, and 2.5 million almost in scholarships. I'm telling you, if you ever want to be inspired for education, come to our graduations. They're just the coolest. Reminding about the Raven Court, Representative Orr had not been, so we walked her through the Raven Court and she just thought it was the neatest place. She was amazed that we didn't have a place that had our logo before. I'm like, well, we've always been in somebody else's facility. And so that was really neat. We highlighted all the other things. We're more than just basketball. Although we do that well, we also do cross country well and track well, but we also do academics. We do UIL. We are CTE District of Distinction. First charter to ever be awarded, and second year we've gotten it. So just awarded that again. So FBLA national competitors, state academics, and then FACE. So lots to celebrate and highlight. We could have gone page after page after page, but we just pulled some of the big ones. We talked about 2 of the big things that we're focusing on this year, which is student engagement and then increasing attendance, and gave them some of the information and stats and what we're doing for that. We were able to talk a little bit about the continued impact of COVID on both engagement in the classroom and also student attendance along with family engagement. These were the call outs that we called out to them. So enrollment cap imminency. So we are about 96.1 capacity. So that means we will get to a stagnant funding base, unlike maybe neighboring communities or suburbs where they can continue to grow. Like that is not our mission and who we are. So we were able to talk about really our mission as a charter school, as a lab-based model school, and how relationships in small environment is key, but it also makes it really hard to continue to innovate and grow. We talked about inflationary pressures, so static revenue versus the rising cost for operations, staff retention, cost of living, and serving of at-risk students in today's times. Talked about the capital debt service. I was able to kind of slide in that we don't get all the funding that we're actually qualified for. They still have a cap on charters for facilities funding. So charters qualify for, say, this much in the state, but they've put a cap at this much. So we only get our percentage of this much, not our percentage of what we actually, quote, earn through the formula. Then we talked about the state allotments and the cash flow issues that it creates for a really small school. So I told them, love TIA, love teacher retention allotment, right? So the incentive and the retention allotment, but both of those we prepay and then they pay us back. And so I talked about the cash restraints and what that looks like for us to be able to have to pay $186,000 between May and August. And then also turn right around, we're looking at roughly $450,000 in teacher retention allotment. And we submitted the numbers, and now I've heard that it may even be April or May before we're actually reimbursed for that. Now, it may be a first year problem. So we do it this first year, and subsequent years, then they're using this year's numbers. And so it may be a smaller adjustment in subsequent years, but right now, us having to front, the teacher incentive allotment didn't come back until roughly October. And then the teacher retention allotment, we don't know when that's going to come and hit. And so right now we're having to front all of that. And only a portion of it is actually in our foundation school program. Right now, there's only about 100,000 that we're currently getting. And so it's an additional roughly 350,000 that we are waiting on to come. And it likely won't be provided in a lump sum. They'll average it out over the remaining payments for the year. And so that'll be it's just a cash flow issue for a school our size, not just a charter school, for any school our size. That's a cash flow issue. So
Can't imagine they would expect us to be able to float that.
It's just crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, things.
yeah, so
counterintuitive.
another superintendent said, so we didn't have the money to pay them that. So you gave us the retention allotment because we didn't have the money just to raise their salaries for that. And then you're asking us to pay them that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So we did tell them, we said, hey, how can you help us? Number one, you can champion Rapoport Academy as a public school. I thought it was really neat. Representative Orr said when she's down on the floor and talking with people, she uses our name. Yeah, but if you want to see a school, if you want to see a school doing this, or if you want to see a school doing that, she said, I remember you guys. And she said, I use your name directly. Now, we just have students that attend in her place. It's actually Representative Curry where our campuses are. And so he also echoed similar things.
She has this district.
She cuts in part of this campus,
Okay, that's what I thought.
but then Curry has MacArthur and then
Okay.
most of the rest of our student demographics. Mhm. We also said support policies that maintain local governance and school level decision making. So try to restrict from as many legislative initiatives that cost us a whole lot of maintenance and a whole lot of stress. I was able to talk about we've had to create a whole position that does nothing but school safety and security and tracking and bureaucracy and monitoring. It's good work, but it's a whole staff position really to just manage things. Mm-hmm. So they also said funding equity and recovery resources. So we wanted to remind them that COVID is not over, even though COVID is over. The impacts of COVID, when you look at our student demographics, when you look at our students with special needs, when you look at our social and emotional development of students and staff, and when you look at funding impact, it's not over. And then of course, like I said, funding equity, we would be amiss if we didn't talk about charter schools get paid the average, so we get paid less than half and more than half. So funding equity was really important as we walk through that. How can we help them? We can be policy experts, we can have open dialogue, and we can make sure that they get a chance to see the impact of the work that they're doing and our students every day. So we invited them back to campus, and we invited them to graduation. So I will say, I would be more than happy. SJ can get on the thump, right? I would be more than happy. Tyler, Jennifer, any of us, if you've got groups you're a part of, if you've got people that you're engaged with, if you have students in classes, like anything, and you think, you know what, I think they would benefit from just a conversation about education. We would love to get out in front of them, especially if you have people that might be interested in being a part of Triple Win or local entrepreneurs or an entrepreneurial group. We would love just to get out and spread the word about the really cool things that we're doing here. That's the only way that we're going to grow support of public education, which is what Rapoport Academy is. So that tool is in your drive. I added it in there right before we walked in this meeting. So it is in your drive. You have access to it. Please feel free to use it. Or if you want me to come use it, I'm happy to do so. Anything else on that? That was a lot. Okay, so the annual report. So in your drive is this big old folder with the annual report. The way that we offer those is we will post this up on our website so people have access to all this information. Most of this information has already been distributed in little bits and pieces as it's come out to families. So it's accessible. If people want a printed copy of it, we can print a copy of it. I think it's close to 1,000 pages, 700, maybe 700 to 1,000, depending on which pieces that they want. Just because like the TAPRs and things like that are just really long and it's a lot of data. But we provide it to anybody that wants it, and we provide it digitally online so people can go pull the information. The only things that are new probably that you haven't seen are the THECB, the Higher Education Coordinating Board. So the post-secondary data for the graduating class of 23 and 24. And then violent criminal activities, we have none. And that's just what that one pager says. The other stuff, most of it you've already seen. So the federal report cards we've distributed, the campus improvement plans and district improvement plans are in there. We've distributed those. TAPR, we distributed those back whenever they were first released. But like I said, I mean, I can go over any of these individually if you have questions over those. But this is just something that annually we have to present to you guys. You just have to receive it and file it, and then we make it available to anybody that needs access. Again, we're happy to print it out for people. Typically for dual language families, we provide oral translation if whatever reader or software they're using doesn't already have translation in that. So we'll sit down and meet with them and we'll translate anything for them as they need it. Anybody want to look at anything individually, or you'll just digest that and we can meet about it later?
It's a lot. I was looking through it and my eyes were glazing over, but I mean, you know, that's,
Yeah,
so I would like more time, but.
Great.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to meet with anybody, whether on the board or out in the district or anybody else. If you look at any of those files and you have questions about them or questions about the data in them, I'm happy to look at that. Most of this information is information that we've looked at some point in time during the year. So the only thing I need on that is receive and file.
Okay, but you do need a motion for that.
Okay. Just receive and file. Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move we receive and file the annual report.
Sean, a second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and the next agenda item is not needed because I went over that in the superintendent's report. And then the last one is a quick summary, but before I got there, I missed a celebration and recognition, you guys. So it is board celebration month. I totally forgot. So we have to do this and we have to get your picture. So I think this is one of the coolest artwork pieces that we've had students create. So each of you guys get your very own copy.
Oh, nice.
Very own copy.
Really
So you can hand that around. Oh, no. Here. Oh.
Hey, I'm always impressed on even social media when
There you go.
students' art is used for the day out of school or something. Like I always love seeing it, so it's nice to have them.
Oh my
Very nice.
Isn't that fun?
That
So this is a collaborative work. Down here at the bottom, you can see the students that were involved in it. but it's got our core values in it. It has Waco landmarks, but it also has Rapoport landmarks, including the Raven Court. It's on there. So it's got all of the campuses. I just think it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite pieces I think the students have done.
Wow.
We've had a lot of really cool pieces. The other piece, if you look at the advocacy overview, if you look at that, you'll see in Representative Orr's, there's one, and it's a depiction of generational connectedness. And so it's a series of young ladies who are each braiding each other's hair, like in a field. And it's really beautiful too. This one is just really awesome. So anyway, so there's that for you guys. So thank you very much for all you guys do. Before you leave tonight, I need to snap a picture, or SJ will probably have my head. So I'll make sure that after we end, if you guys would just pose up so we can take a picture for that one. Yeah, will you take a picture in a minute whenever we do that? Thank you. So anyway, so there, that's for you. And I will make sure that Amanda gets one. I will tell them, yes, I will tell them. But I mean, it's the coolest picture.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's the coolest picture. I love that one. So anyway, I was amiss in the celebrations. I didn't put that on there for you guys. Okay, so the last one is just really quick, an update on the initiative planning. I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we've got the one pager now on the strategic planning for you guys that we're working through right now. Region 12 has taken all of the individual pieces. I think in December, I let you guys know that we were doing the individual pieces for each initiative with kind of milestones. So they've taken that, and then SJ is now taking all of that and the one pager, all of that information, plus some of the demographic information, and putting it together in a single strategic ebook that can be printed out into a book. If people want actual handouts into like a flyer kind of version of that one. And so all that will be ready for you guys at the February meeting. So we're really excited. Region 12 is going to come back for that meeting and just be here to kind of walk through it if you have any questions. But those initiatives are all in, and we actually have pretty big work going on quite a few of them already. And so I'm really excited about navigating through what those strategic plan initiative mile markers are as we move throughout the year. You should have access to those milestones that we had talked about before. So if you have any questions, you can talk to the initiative lead directly, or you can reach out to me and I can connect you with the initiative lead for that. But then, like I said, the next piece to that is us walking forward with that. The plan is that every quarter that we come back and do kind of a board presentation for what we've done on the different initiatives. Very quick overview update for that. And then as we move through the year, the District Improvement Committee is going to be receiving updates from the initiative leads as they move forward. Kind of just so that there's like a monthly checkpoint for each of the different initiatives as we move throughout the year. So I'm really excited about the strategic initiatives you guys came up with in this process. I think they mesh well with the academic strategic plan. So putting all that together in a revised strategic plan that'll take us all the way through the end of 29 and push us really some light years ahead in systems and sustainability. I think it's really exciting. So thank you for y'all's work on that and your feedback and your drive into those initiatives. Like I said, I think that the final draft should be to you guys. The final version should be to you guys in February.
How is the work? I mean, are you in that plan? You detail how the work is distributed. Do you feel like you have enough capacity among your leadership, or does it feels like a lot? I mean, I know it must, and so I don't know if you want to answer to that.
I mean, I think there's two things. One, I think because of some staff changes and shifts, I think there's several different initiatives that are just mine. And I think I'm going to have to realistically look at what that looks like just for me, because running 3 different initiatives and all the other stuff might be really hard. I mean, I think Tyler and Jennifer each have their own initiatives, and I think they could speak. Matter of fact, I'd love for you guys to speak about how does it feel to have not only your regular role, but also have kind of a district-wide initiative responsibility.
I know that's putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
So you don't.
Tyler has a picture with the what is it, the person underwater, right?
I mean, I think it's there's a lot of feelings that it is definitely extra work. And it's certainly extra work whenever, like, for me, I'm putting together trainings for the entire district for multiple strands that everyone is running through. And I'm having to plan for next year and even the following year, already this year. And so there's a lot of pieces that go to that. We're doing walkthroughs that happen. So and that's not just elementary, you know, that's.
She's district wide, yeah.
So having to think through all those pieces and having to manage all of that, is obviously extra and additional on top of what I'm already doing. It's not manageable, but it is a lot and it does require extra pieces than what I do on a normal basis. And it requires me pulling in people because I need to get a lot of things. And I know we've got 8 trainers, myself being one of them, there being one, and then 6 other trainers. All of our campus leaders are trainers. So getting all those people on board with all of things. Okay, it is a lot, but it's not. It's okay, but yeah, it's different, and I think doing it as a district wide changes it. Because I'm seeing people who I don't normally lead to do things that I'm in charge of, and then even teachers that we're doing walkthroughs on there. They're not been teachers, right? They're teachers. But so yeah. And in some ways it's a good experience, right? That's helpful, but there's definitely in some ways a little bit part of it is outside the scope. So I think I don't know if there's some easy answer there. I think parts of it are good. There's parts of it.
Well, that's one thing I think during our process, I don't know that there was not a lot of space or thinking about the feasibility of this. I'm not calling it into question, but I think we need to keep that in mind. That just because we have this wish list and, oh yeah, we'll do this and this and this. I don't know, from my opinion, it seems like that's a conversation that can continue. I don't know, deal.
So I think there's one of the other things I will say is, I think this strategic plan is a little bit better in saying this needs to be done in this time span, right? So like even with Jennifer's, it was, we're going to put this in place and in the next 3 years. So, okay, so do this year, do this the next year, do this the next year, right? Like, and Tyler, I didn't mean to jump in on top of you, but like his was first survey the scene, right? So the first thing he did was just look to see what we're actually doing. Then it was categorize, create, then it's implement. And so I think it'd be different if it was all this is going to be done right now versus let's step this out and see what it looks like. I think the new initiatives you guys have added, well, much like the older ones, most of those have a different person for each initiative. And so it's one person that's leading an initiative. Most of those aren't as complicated, really. They're not as complicated as like Jennifer's that is multi-people, multi-trains, multi-years. Tyler's is just starting to ramp up really because his was so like nail and jello to the wall, right? Trying to figure that out. So I think they have 2 a little bit harder ones. But Tyler, why don't you talk about yours? What do you think?
Yeah, I would echo what Jennifer shared. I think the only thing that I would add to that is there are a lot of initiatives. And I think that is sometimes characteristic of our school as historically we are enthusiastic about change and about seeing us excel in all of the areas, which sometimes does mean that we spread ourselves a little more thin than our capability. As Alexis said, there are initiative owners for each of the initiatives, but if you put you're going to it, that would be great.
I'll try to.
The strategy on a page. I even asked our Region 12 partners when we were at our last, what we call our step back meeting, where we meet with them and give updates and talk about data. That bottom section at the very bottom, there are a lot of initiatives. And so just keeping in mind prioritization, what's the most important thing you do? What's the highest leverage work that we do? I do think there are times where we might take on too many things all at once. I appreciate the multi-year capacity as Dr. Wu mentioned. I think there have been years where we tried to tackle all these things, and our timeline was start and end of the same school year.
Yeah.
So that has allowed us to take it in more deliberate steps. I think our partnership with Region 12 has been really meaningful because they get to be an outside entity to continue to help us move forward and ask those hard questions, kind of keep us on track with that, keeping up with data and making progress towards our goals. So those have all been good things. But it is extra things. It is extra things. That is what I'm saying. And so each person does have to take on what Jennifer described, which is really every initiative owner is tasked with asking other people who they're not direct supervisors over to join the task, which we work in a really great place where people tend to say, okay, yeah, whatever you need from me. But that is part of the work and effort as well. My thing that I was pointing out, I'll just kind of say again and close out what I'm saying is the number of initiatives, there are quite a few, but each of us owns one, so.
I think also several of the other ones are specific to people's jobs. But when you look at those, like that's something that they are already doing in their role. Like if you look over the far right, the life cycle, facilities and software, hardware life cycles, right? That's something that Chad Rumsey and Chris Brownlee were already thinking of and working through and walking towards. And so really what you guys have just done is just said, hey, this is a priority for us. And they've been able to go, hey, this is a priority, right? I need to focus to make sure that this is where we're navigating for that. So I don't know that all of those are created from nothing. Theirs are created, well, Jennifer's especially is create from nothing, right? And she's had to navigate all of that and set up something that can be tweaked and replicated with the next engagement initiative or content initiative from that. So she's creating systems of training and development, right? Tyler had to figure out this kind of wobbly thing and start categorizing and putting it together and making sure that we are staying committed to those strands that are in the different learning categories for that one. I think the first one, right, the calendar one, like you guys have already seen, you know, the draft that's in there that we're working through. That's just a matter of keeping it updated and paying attention to it, right, as we navigate through. I think when you look at the PPP, so the pathways, partnerships, and pipelines, that's something that SJ Menifee is going to be taking a much bigger lift in and really reaching out. We've got a committee meeting scheduled where we're going to talk about prioritization, definitions, where we want to target, where we want to walk through with that. And so I think it's a lot of initiatives. I think there is a risk of some of them, like the deadlines needing to be stretched out or pulled back. I don't know that risk is really great because we're talking about 29. I also think a lot of those are big picture enough that they can be crafted more detailed in a way that's really meaningful to that initiative lead and to the district as a whole.
So, any other questions? Okay. Is that all for your business?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll be sending out this superintendent evaluation, and what that looks like is just pound the pavement, talk to different parents, faculty, staff from different campuses, so that we can convene really informed in April.
Okay. I will share the findings, not the findings, the results for the family and the student, elementary, student, secondary, and the staff surveys. I'll just share those files directly with you guys so that you can kind of piece through and look at the overall findings, or you can also look at the detailed comments, things like that. So y'all all have that information.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion approved, meeting adjourned.
So we're going to want to stay forever.
I know.
Well, I thought that was what was happening. No one wanted to.
Oh, wait, what did it say?